To work in Premiere Pro, we need to capture video from our tapes, or we need to transfer files that may have been saved onto a tapeless format. In this chapter, we will go over capturing from tape, as well as using the media browser to import files into our project. Open up the Premiere project file called Capture in your Chapter 3 folder in your Project Files folder. I would like to start this lesson by talking about capturing. Capturing, or ingesting, as it is called in some production places, is where we have footage that was recorded onto a tape media and now we need to place it in the computer so that we can start the editing process. If you do not have a captured deck and a tape, you will not be able to follow along. Still, watch and enjoy the lesson. However, if you are following along, obviously your tape and mine will have different content, so just keep that in mind. To work with tape media, we need to capture it onto our system. This process usually involves having a video deck connected to the computer and capturing media through some kind of FireWire connection. To get us started, I would like to talk about timecode. Timecode gives each and every frame of video a distinct number, measured in time. Using timecode allows you to log clips before you capture and recapture clips in case you need to use batch capturing. You can export sequences using an EDL. You can also capture at a lower resolution for offline editing and then recapture at a higher resolution for online editing. Timecode is recorded onto the video file as part of the video signal, and for best results, timecode should be continuous and uninterrupted from the beginning until the end of the tape. For this reason, many videographers that use tape for capturing their media stripe their tapes so that the video in them will have continuous, uninterrupted timecode numbers. The process of striping the tape consists on recording a black signal from the beginning until the end of the tape. Besides recording timecode, cameras can also save the date and time information on when the shots were taken. This is one of the reasons why some cameras ask you to set time and date when you first get them, and before you can start using them. This date and time information is known as timestamp. Premiere Pro can read this timestamp information from some of these cameras, and what that means is that if there is a break in the timestamp, is that the camcorder was paused. This will constitute a new scene. In other words, Premiere may be able to tell when you paused your camcorder. Based on this, Premiere Pro can break the video into different clips based on when you pushed the pause button. Capturing this digital tape means transferring this already digital footage into the computer via some kind of connection, usually a FireWire or IEEE 1394 port. You can also use one of the many third-party cards available in the market. However, sometimes we need to digitize, which means taking analog footage and converting it into a digital format. For example, you would have to do this if you were working with VHS, Beta SP, 3/4 inch, or any of the older but still very much used analog formats. In this lesson, we're going to go through capturing footage from an already digital device. So, to capture your footage from a digital device, your system needs to conform to certain specifications. For DV or HDV, you need to have a deck that can play and output this information via FireWire. You also need to have a FireWire port in your system, and your system and hard drives need to be fast enough to be able to sustain the data rate of the capture and, of course, enough disk space. There are also third-party manufacturers that have ports other than FireWire. We will concentrate on the FireWire output-input for the purposes of this series. To capture from an analog audio source, then you will need an audio card with analog inputs. You will also need a codec. This stands for compressor, decompressor, and this will determine how the video will be saved and which settings it will have. For tape capture, natively, Premiere Pro supports two codecs, which are DV and HDV. Well, let's get this process started. So let's go ahead and set some preferences. For this, go to the Premiere Pro menu and choose Preferences. If you are on a Windows system, this is going to be under the Edit menu. From here, let's go ahead and choose Capture. A new panel opens up. In here, I can choose to abort the captured undropped frames. A drop frame is a frame of video that for one reason or another did not get captured properly, so Premiere Pro drops it. I do want to abort capture undropped frames because I really need all of my frames of video for my work. So I'm going to go ahead and check this. The next item is Report Drop Frames. Well, I'm already going to abort the capture process if it drops the frame, so I guess it doesn't need to report it. I'm going to go ahead and deselect this. The next item is Generate Batch Log File only on unsuccessful completion. That just means that if by any reason my capturing is not successful throughout, it's going to generate a batch log. More on batch capturing a little bit later. Finally, the next item is Use Device Control Timecode. This just refers to using the device control's timecode instead of the tape, so I will leave this one unchecked. Now let's go ahead and check on the device control preference. In here I can choose the device, which by default is going to give me two choices, none or DV/HDV device control. I'd like to add that if you have in your system one of those third-party capture cards installed, you're going to see one more option in here. For our purposes, let's just go ahead and choose DV/HDV device control. We can also go ahead and click on the Options button. We can choose the video standard, which in our case is going to be NTSC, the device brand, which in my case is a Canon. In your case, I don't know, but I'm sure that the manufacturer of your device is in here. The next option is the device type. In here you can choose your model number. If you don't find it, just go ahead and stick to standard or alternate 1 or 2. This is to make sure that your system and your device are speaking the same protocol. For timecode format, I'm going to go ahead and leave it to auto detect, but I could choose from drop frame to non-drop frame. Check status online. That means that my system is indeed detecting my device. If I needed to go online to gain more information, I could just go ahead and click here. For our purposes, all I need to do now is click OK. Pre-roll refers to how many seconds our tape is going to play before it starts capturing on the designated timecode. More on that a little bit later. Timecode offset is just in case we would like to have a different number on our clip than it is on the tape. In this case, we don't want any, so I will leave it at 0. All right, I think we are ready, so I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. Now let's go ahead and open the capture panel, which is File, Capture, or just press the shortcut key, which is F5. Now we can see the capture panel. In here, let's navigate to the Settings tab, which is this one right here, so that we can set the location for our captured video and captured audio. Let's go ahead and check the different sections in here. The first one is the captured settings. I will be capturing DV. If you need to change this, go ahead and click on Edit, and a new panel opens up. You can change the format from DV to HDV. In our case, we're just going to go ahead and leave it as DV. Click OK. In here, you can also change where you're going to be saving the video and the audio files. by default is going to say same as project, which is indeed what I want. So I don't need to change this at all. The device control is identical to what we saw in the preferences setting. So if I click option, the exact same device control settings panel opens up. I already set it, so I don't need to do it again. I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. Lastly, we're going to see in here the pre-roll and timecode offset values. Again, pre-roll refers to how many seconds before the specified timecode you would like for the tape to play, and timecode offset is for when you would like to establish an offset value for the timecode numbers.